What's going on, people? It's Andrew back again with another video, and today we have our review of the Samsung Galaxy Book 3 Pro. Now, this is a 14-inch clamshell device. It's not a convertible like we saw with the Book 3 Pro 360, and it's not a touch screen. There's no pen support. There's no touch on this, so you have a non-touch display, but it is absolutely gorgeous as far as the display is concerned. It's got the AMOLED display that is really deep black, super vibrant colors. Everything you'd want in an AMOLED display is here, and I noticed it's a little bit less reflective than the Galaxy Book 3 Pro of 360 that we looked at, and also the Book 3 Ultra, which had a very highly reflective display. So we're going to get into it now in this review. 13th gen processor, really nice build quality, and the beige color, which does show less fingerprints. We're going to get into that and more in this review. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the Samsung Galaxy Book 3 Pro. Coming up. Now, before we get to the unboxing, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Samsung. I'm not being sponsored by Samsung. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Samsung is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit was purchased with my own money. I did not receive a review unit from Samsung. The Book 3 Pro comes in two different models, the 14-inch model, which is what we have here today, and a 16-inch model. Starting price for these are $1449.99. For those interested, I'll leave a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. So without further ado, let's find out what we get inside the box. Wow, very nice. Now, it is a little bit of heft for a 14-inch, and this looks like a 65-watt super fast charge adapter, same one we saw, I believe, on the convertible. Some documentation, we don't really care about that crap. And then you get your USB-C charging cable, and I think that's it. So you don't get anything else on that. Oh, wow. So this is the beige, and I actually got a good look at this when we were at the Samsung Unpacked event on the 2nd, right? Wasn't that February 2nd? Pretty nice, and I love how thin and light this is. Now, for some reason, they're not making the Pro model in a 360 as a 14-inch, only the 16. And I could tell you right away, I'm absolutely loving this beige color. It looks really good. Okay, let's check out the port selection. We're going to start off on the left side. We get an HDMI 2.0 port, not 2.1, just keep that in mind. Two USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 ports. They are full function, supporting data, charge, and display out. Moving over to the right side is a micro SD card reader, a full-size USB-A port, and finally a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack. Couple things to note. Well, the thing I'm not really crazy about is would like to see HDMI 2.1, not 2.0. That would have given you a little bit more options as far as going to higher spec monitors and so forth. So 2.0, you're limited to 4K 60, whereas 2.1, you can go up to even 120 hertz depending on the model you choose. And then, of course, there's a micro SD card, but that's okay for a 14-inch, although I do prefer full-size SD cards since I am a content creator using a lot of full-size SD cards in my mirrorless cameras and so forth, but that's just me. And speaking of the SD cards, they do sit flush with the unit, so that's always great. Nothing sticking out, nothing to break off. Love that. Now, as far as getting inside this laptop, all you need to do is remove the 4 feet on the bottom. They pop off very easily, and they're easily put back on. Samsung makes it very easy to do that. I love that. And then once they are off, you need to unscrew the 4 Phillips head screws from there, and then you're going to take a guitar pick or a pry tool and work your way around the edges to pop off the bottom plate. Take your time. It's on there pretty tight, so you want to work your way around the edges and then just pop it right off. It's pretty easy overall, so I appreciate what Samsung did there. Now, as far as what's inside, you'll see the dual fans for cooling. You'll see that 63 watt-hour battery. And then you also will see that the RAM is soldered into the motherboard, which, of course, is pretty much par for the course here in 2023. Most brands have now moved to soldered RAM, which is a bit unfortunate. But having said that, we're looking at 16 gigabytes of LP DDR5 RAM. It's running in dual channel mode, so I have no complaints on that front. I just wish it was upgradable. And then, of course, there is the SSD, and this is definitely PCIe 3 NVMe SSD storage here. It's Gen 4. And as you can see from these excellent reads and writes, these are super fast. So this is going to be great for all your needs. There's going to be no issues there. Now, there is another spot looking like another M.2 spot. Somebody, if they can tell me if there's actually an upgradable SSD. I didn't test it out. I'm not sure. I don't have any official word from Samsung, but it looks like it might accommodate another SSD. But again, nothing official. I have not heard anything. But if anybody knows, let us know in the comment section below. But I do appreciate having at least the one SSD that is upgradable by the user. As far as wireless is concerned, we're looking at Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.1, both working flawlessly since I've received this unit, and both have no issues. But of course, this is not 5.3 like we've been seeing in terms of the Bluetooth. We're seeing 5.1 here, and it is soldered into the motherboard, so that means you cannot upgrade it down the road. So just keep that in mind. Okay, let's talk about the display, one of the stars, if not the star of the show. That's because they're using what they call a dynamic AMOLED 2X display. It has a resolution of 2880 by 1800. Now, I have the 14-inch model here, and the first thing that I'm noticing when you compare it to the Book 3 Ultra that I looked at and the Book 3 Pro 360, this is a less glossy, less reflective display. Now, it is glossy and is a bit reflective, but much less than the other two models. Pretty interesting, and I'm glad to see that here on this 14-inch model. And I'm happy they moved to a 16:10 aspect ratio. Means you'll do less scrolling when it comes to web browsing. You'll see more on the display. That's a good move over last year's model, which had a 16:9 aspect ratio, which pretty much is an outdated aspect ratio here in 2023. So it's good they went to 16:10. And this being an AMOLED display means you're going to get the really deep blacks, the super vibrant colors, the really high contrast, everything you'd want in an AMOLED display is here. It is simply excellent. It is very bright, getting over 400 nits in my measurements. So you're going to be able to use this in both indoor and outdoor scenarios. A little bit glossy, as I mentioned, but not nearly as bad as the Book 3 Ultra or the Book 3 Pro 360 that I looked at. Now, as far as the coverage of the color gamut, it's excellent. So if you're a content creator, this is going to be great for Lightroom, Photoshop, video editing, color grading, and the like. And it is a very color accurate display at that. So you'll be very happy with this panel. There's no doubt about it. Now, this is not a touch display. There's no pen support on this. And if you need that, you'll have to go to the Galaxy Book 3 Pro 360, which is only offered in a 16-inch model. The non-Pro version does offer a 13.3-inch convertible that does have pen support and so forth, but you do not get that on the Pro model here with 14 inches. Again, you'll have to go to the 16 inches, but that doesn't bother me. For those some are not looking for touch or pen support, this is a great choice. This is an excellent display. It's also a Dolby Vision display, so watching high dynamic range content on this has been superb. Watching Netflix, Amazon, YouTube in HDR has been fantastic. No complaints on that front. And it has a dynamic refresh rate between 60 Hz and 120. Out of the box, it's defaulted to the dynamic, so it'll switch between 60 and 120. But if you really want that smooth scrolling all the time, the really fluid experience, you can go 120. But keep in mind, you will eat up more battery. It will consume more power. Expect to get better battery life on the 60 Hz as opposed to the 120. Dynamic is sort of the hybrid between the two. And speaking of the battery, this has a 63 watt hour battery, and I did test it on the PC Mark X Modern Office battery test, the MS Office battery test, the video playback test, and the gaming test. And these are the results. I would say they're a little bit average. It's not going to be great in terms of longevity all day, but I did test it with the 120 Hz enabled. Expect to get better battery life if you do the 60 Hz, maybe an hour to hour and a half better if you drop it down. And of course, you could always keep it on the dynamic refresh rate. That's the default setting out of the box, probably about another hour or so. It just depends on what you're doing, but I would say overall pretty average battery life on this 14-inch laptop. So this is the camera on the Samsung Galaxy Book 3 Pro 14-inch here for 2023. This is a 1080p camera, 30 frames per second. Interestingly, I didn't see a 60 frames per second option like we saw on the Book 3 Ultra, and I think on the bigger 16-inch convertible on the 360 that I took a look at. Anyway, I think it's good for your video conferencing needs, work from home needs, hybrid work needs. I think it's going to have good quality in terms of the video and, of course, the audio. What do you think about it? Let me know. Now, as far as the studio mode, you can show some of the effects here. This is the smooth effect, or the subtle effect, really. This is the smooth effect.
And then this is the strong effect. So it sort of beautifies this already beautiful face, of course. And then you could do the background blur. We've seen that before. If you have a messy background, it comes in handy. You can do color. Right now it's green. You can do an image like I have here. So a lot of options when it comes to the background. There's also auto framing, of course, and there's eye contact. All this, we've seen all these effects in others in terms of other brands and so forth. So you have it here. Nice to have that here on the Samsung Galaxy Book here. So I'm really happy with that. What do you think about the camera? What do you think about the video? What do you think about the audio? Let me know in that comment section below.
Now, a couple of things to note. This is not an IR camera. That means you cannot log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. And there is a fingerprint scanner. The power button doubles as a fingerprint scanner. Setup was really easy, and it's been very responsive, working very well since I've gotten this laptop. And for those wondering, yes, you can open the lid with one finger and the screen goes as far back as you see here. Now, one thing I noticed is the hinge is a little bit better than on the 16-inch model of the 360 that we looked at and on the Book 3 Ultra. Little less screen wobble, it seems, but it still moves a little bit. Again, not perfect, but a little bit better than those two models as well. So good on that front. Now, as far as the keyboard, as I mentioned in the other two models I looked at, yes, a little bit shallow, same thing here. And I thought the tactility was good, the feedback was good, and it never felt like my fingers were going to bottom out. Pretty comfortable for typing in extended periods of time, so good in terms of the keyboard. There's a multi-stage backlight, and again, with these black keys against the white LEDs, it's going to look okay. It's easy to see the contrast. Okay, let's talk about the touchpad. It's a pretty spacious touchpad for a 14-inch laptop, and I thought it was very responsive when it comes to scrolling, when it comes to doing all the gestures. It all worked well. Now, it is not a haptic touchpad, which I kind of wish it was, like you get on the MacBook Pro and other Windows laptops we've been seeing as of late. So we don't get that here, but it is very responsive. I have no real issues with this touchpad. Again, nice, spacious touchpad, and it worked well. And those of you wondering what it looks like next to the MacBook Pro 14, here it is. You can see this beige color. It looks really nice. This is the silver color on the MacBook. And when you lift the lids, you can see that the design cues, the styling cues are very similar to one another, as you can see here, although this is a black key layout, which is a little bit tighter, closer together than this. And this has a little bit better key travel, in my opinion, but that's just me. But of course, this is what they look like as far as the footprints, very similar as far as the size and the design. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, one difference, of course, is this has a haptic touchpad, one of the best in the business. This has a more traditional style touchpad, a diving board style touchpad. You can actually physically click it. This has a haptic engine. So just so you keep that in mind, but these are what these two look like side by side. Now, as far as performance is concerned, we know this is running the Intel Core i7 1360p. That is a 13th gen processor from Intel with integrated Iris Xe graphics. And of course, Iris Xe graphics are not going to be as good as something with a discrete graphics card, say like on the Book 3 Ultra that we looked at. But this is certainly going to be good for everyday tasks such as Microsoft Office, email, web browsing. 1080p video editing is certainly possible on this. Even some light gaming, if you lower some of the settings, you can definitely get some playable frame rates, although I wouldn't play your AAA titles on this unless you connect to an external GPU, which is certainly a possibility thanks to the two Thunderbolt 4 ports that this has. Now, as far as the performance in terms of the benchmark numbers, they're all looking good as far as the single-core, multi-core performance. We're definitely seeing an increase over the 12th gen last year, so certainly is going to be good in the performance category as far as those kinds of tasks and those kind of things you're going to be doing with this clamshell laptop. Now, as far as the graphics, like I said, it's not going to blow you out of the water, but it'll definitely be good for what you need it to do for everyday tasks. Now, consuming media has been good on this. It has an HDR plus display. Watching the high dynamic range content on this has been a pleasure. So it really has been very good in overall performance and usability of this laptop. Now, when it comes to the thermals, I thought they did a good job when it comes to the cooling of this laptop. There are two fans on there, and I didn't notice that the fan noise get overly loud in this, but you definitely will notice them, especially when you put it on the performance mode. But if you put it on the other modes, it would come on intermittently, or if you're on the silent mode, it wouldn't come on hardly at all. In fact, it doesn't come on at all, but it definitely will affect performance. So if you want the best performance, you'll definitely want to put it on the performance mode. That's for sure. As far as the surface temperatures, I never saw it get overly hot in terms of too hot to the touch. Definitely remained relatively cool, and that's been good as well. Now, when it comes to the audio, this has been pretty good as well. Now, here's the thing about the audio. This is Dolby Atmos speakers. They're AKG tuned, of course. And we saw pretty good results from the Book 3 Pro 360 and, of course, the Book 3 Ultra, although not as good as the MacBook Pro. But, of course, let's test it out here today with this 14-inch model to see how it compares with the MacBook Pro 14 with the M1 Pro. That's been my MacBook that I've been using, and I think it has some of the best, if not the best, audio coming from a laptop in either any category. I think it's worked out really well. They've done a great job. I don't know what kind of special sauce Apple does with their audio, but I think they do a fantastic job. So let's see if this can compete with it. I don't think it's going to be quite as good, but let you be the judge. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about the difference in the quality? So let's give it a listen right now. Okay, well, that's a pretty interesting test, of course, and it shows that the MacBook Pro definitely has the superior audio, definitely more fuller, more bass, overall better sound, I think. Although, just keep in mind, this Galaxy Book 3 Pro definitely has good sound for a Windows laptop. And I did compare it last night on the live unboxing to the Yoga 9i, the Gen 8 from Lenovo that I looked at, which has the rotating soundbar. I thought that had the best on a Windows laptop so far. Now, we did compare that, of course, in that live unboxing last night. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. But I think my overall takeaway is the MacBook Pro certainly continues to reign as the champion in the overall audio when it comes to laptop sound. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Samsung Galaxy Book 3 Pro here for 2023? And I got to say, a lot of improvements over the Galaxy Book 2 from last year that we wanted to see. The higher resolution, the 16:10 aspect ratio, the better display as far as the refresh rate. It now has a dynamic refresh rate up to 120 hertz. So really good in terms of that really great display. Excellent build quality now this time around, much better than last year. Although it is a little bit heavier, it's definitely worth the trade-off for the better build on this, the more premium build, and that's been really good. It works seamlessly with the Samsung devices. I didn't want to make this video too long. I'm doing a separate video, I should say, on the seamless integration between the Samsung devices and this laptop. We'll talk about that in that separate video. That's coming very soon. Good port selection, although I would like to see a full-size SD card reader, but that's just me nitpicking. Overall, good port selection. Huge, spacious touchpad as far as the touchpad is concerned. I have no complaints of that. It worked well, although it's not a haptic engine. A 1080p webcam worked well on this. I thought it had good video quality. I thought it had good audio quality. And I found that it was less reflective as far as the display than the Pro 360 that I looked at, and of course the Ultra that I looked at, which had very glossy, very reflective displays. The negatives here, no IR camera, and the beige model didn't show a lot of fingerprints, but the graphite model will, so just keep that in mind. And that has been pretty much it. I think it's a really good designed laptop here. I think they bring a lot to the table, a lot of the improvements we wanted to see, and I can definitely recommend it for photographers, videographers, creative students, travelers, writers, bloggers, all kinds of people that are looking for a nice laptop that is thin, light, ready to take on the road with a really excellent display. Just wish the battery life was a little bit better. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.